Zambia and Tanzania have shared strong bilateral relations in trade, economic and political ties that date back to the 1960s. Zambia and Tanzania are like Siamese twins whose umbilical cords are buried in the same soils, separated by the geographical boundaries created by the colonial masters. The two countries have strong trade relations that have beyond any shadows of doubt proved to be beneficial for both parties economically. History on the two countries will be considered not real without mentioning the two statesmen, Julius Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere of Tanzania and Kenneth David Kaunda of Zambia, both founding presidents of their countries respectively, were torchbearers and ensured the two countries gained independence. A few years later, Julius Nyerere and Kenneth Kaunda saw the need to establish a railway line to link the two countries that would sustain economic and political freedom. Hence, between 1970 and 1975, through an interest-free loan from the People's Republic of China, Zambia and Tanzania managed to construct a 1,860-kilometer Tanzania-Zambia Railway, TAZARA, from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania to Kapirimponshi in Zambia. In 1968, the two governments also constructed the Tanzania-Zambia Mafuta Tazama pipeline that stretches 1,710 kilometers from the port of Dar es Salaam to Indeni oil refineries in Ndola on the Copper Belt.
Zambia and Tanzania have lived side by side as sister countries in many other facets of life. Now, coming to trade, both Zambia and Tanzania are serious logistic pathways to each other. We use their port, and most of the things that come to our country, they pass through their port and come to our country. And even themselves, to have access to business in the DRC and beyond, they use Zambia as a conduit to transport their goods and many other services, including human capital.
Over the years, the infrastructure at TAZARA and Tazama have deteriorated, hence slowing down operations. It is from such an understanding that the two governments, under the leadership of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, and Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the Republic of Tanzania, are devising ways on how to address the challenges at the two companies. The Zambian flag swayed happily at the Julius Nyerere International Airport to signal the state visit of President Hakainde Hichilema to Tanzania. President Hichilema was expected in Tanzania on a state visit to hold bilateral talks aimed at improving trade between the two countries with his Tanzanian counterpart, Samia Hassan. The presidential plane touched down at Julius Nyerere International Airport at 10:43 Tanzanian time. The president was accompanied by First Lady Mutinta Hichilema. He was received by his Tanzanian counterpart, Samia Hassan, Zambia's cabinet ministers, Stanley Kakubo, Frank Tayali, Chipoka Mlenga, and Peter Kapala of Foreign Affairs and International Relations, Transport and Logistics, Commerce and Energy, respectively. Senior government officials from Tanzania were also on hand to receive the president. An entertainment package from various cultural groups were on hand to welcome the president with song and dance. President Hichilema was then accorded a 21-gun salute before inspecting a guard of honor mounted by the Tanzania Army. From here, President Hichilema proceeded to State House, where he held closed-door bilateral meetings and official talks with his Tanzanian counterpart. Dar es Salaam is the largest city of Tanzania and has an estimated population of 2.7 million people. It was in Dar es Salaam where key matters of discussion were to be held, from enhancement of mutual relations on trade, investment, and infrastructure development between the two sister countries. It was during these closed-door bilateral engagements by President Hichilema and President Hassan that an agreement to mobilize resources to revive Tazara Railway, modernize and make it vibrant were arrived at. After the closed-door meeting that lasted over an hour, President Hichilema and President Hassan briefed the media on the outcome of the talks.
In restoring and strengthening our cooperation, we have to focus on all the areas which will make us be in the right path. We first considered the political cooperation, and we said our two countries, despite all that transpired, we must go back as leaders. Let's lead our people to broader understanding. And we talk about security in our countries. We considered the regional issues about terrorism and other threats. And we said we must deepen our cooperation in terms of security of our countries. And we also focused on the economic situation, and we checked it back and found the infrastructure that we inherited from elders, Tazara and Tazama pipelines, what's the status. And today Tazara is not performing to its capacity. Tazama pipeline, the objective of its establishment is different from the current situation. So we have agreed to consider these projects so that we can improve the performance of Tazara, and if we want to rehabilitate the current level, but we agree within the current word, SGR is the direction. So we must have a joint project and find the financing through PPP, the public-private partnership.
President Samia Hassan indicated that the agreement came as a result of poor performance of Tazara and the need to rehabilitate the current railway in partnership with other developmental partners. It was also disclosed that the two countries had agreed to expand the Tazama pipeline following a change in objectives from transportation of commingled crude oil to finished products.
Also with other development partners, especially those who built this railway, we can see how we can cooperate to improve it to standard gauge level. But today we focused on Tazama, and we said the aim of the terminal of Tazama was to transport crude oil to a refinery. But that objective has changed significantly. The refinery is not used to that extent. So Zanzibar have changed their policies in terms of energy, and now they are taking the direction of importing refinery projects, petroleum products which are refined instead of crude oil. And he used a different name, of course I did not get it, but instead of transmitting crude oil, they will now be importing refined petroleum. But we agreed that the pipelines, the size is small. We need a bigger one which will transmit more fuel, and of course there is some port and the current facilities we have must assist to reduce the cost of fuel in the country. So we have agreed on that.
The Tanzanian president also stated the need for ministers of commerce from the two countries to engage on tariff barriers that are affecting trade.
Then we talked about small business people, small traders who cross the boundaries to trade in each country. There are too many conditions, especially permits or the charges, levy and other charges. So we instructed our ministers to meet and see how they can facilitate trade between our two countries without any barriers. We also considered the problem which brought some chaos about our drivers. And we agreed that the Association of Drivers, both Zambia and Tanzania, let them meet, let them talk to two governments and see what are their requirements or what are their needs. Let's listen to them. What do they need? What is the problem? So the two governments can work together to assist.
For President Hichilema, the relations between Zambia and Tanzania are a heritage inherited from the founding fathers, Julius Kambarage Nyerere and Kenneth David Kaunda, who underscored the significance of connecting the two countries.
We two countries are bonded together by history. I think that's important. Bonded together. We are the generation alive today. We are the generation bestowed with running public offices in Tanzania, in Zambia. But we have a heritage. We have relationships that were built before us. And it's our duty to nurse, to water these relationships. Political relationships, KK, Nyerere, we really have a duty to carry on that journey that our visionary leaders, independence leaders, freedom struggle leaders, independence leaders that caved for us, for both our countries. And over time, we've had successive presidents here in Tanzania, we've had successive presidents in Zambia. And I think this generation of leaders, the two of us, my sister and I, my sister and I, have agreed to reinvigorate these relationships and really leverage on them. Essentially leverage on them, meaning that we must maximize the benefits that we derive from this foundation that our leaders invested so much at the time.
It is worth noting that Zambia, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo share Lake Tanganyika and is one of the natural resources whose potential has not fully been exploited by the three countries.
One asset that I want to emphasize that we share, not just the two of us, but also with other countries, Congo, Burundi, is Lake Tanganyika, so that we work together on that lake to maximize the value that lake can deliver to both our peoples, both our countries, the ports around there, modernization, but also the barges, the transport barges, so that we can harmonize the regulatory frameworks, we can harmonize the fiscal side, the taxation side, around the operation of our common facility, which we dearly love so much. And again, maximize the benefits that we derive from there.
As Zambia's Chief Marketing Officer, President Hichilema underscored the need to stimulate cross-border trade between the two nations in order to broaden market for goods and services produced by each country.
Alongside the building trade and investment, enhancing that, we are looking at leveraging our regional bodies, SADC, East African Community, Great Lakes region, again, shared platforms. The two countries would like to maximize the benefits that accrue from these relationships that we have. And there are cases where we are together in these relationships. Ministers of Foreign Affairs are familiar with this. There are sometimes we don't sit on the same regional bodies, such as Tanzania being a member of the East African Community, and we are not. And obviously, we want to, in that case, work with Tanzania to make sure that we can benefit from the East African Community relationships as well, although we are not direct members, and vice versa, whichever the case may be. And also at a multilateral level, African Union, United Nations, we would like to work closely together. Again, we know what we want from there. What we want is to get the best of both worlds, so to say, to benefit Tanzanians, to benefit Zambians.
President Hichilema commended his Tanzanian counterpart on the efforts made to support miners following increased gold mining among small and medium enterprises. He was impressed to learn that the Tanzanian government is now financing the operations of SMEs.
Tanzania has done very well in bringing artisanal miners, let's call it that, small miners, arranging them properly, transiting them from away from illegal miners to legal miners, and also creating opportunities for those of our people who need the governmental support more than most of the people seated in this room. And so the licensing part, but also the order, because if you don't organize mining in that level and it's chaotic, it can breed extremism as well. It can finance things that you don't want to finance, to be honest. And so my team will be sitting down. In fact, my Minister of Mines was here. I reminded the President, maybe he didn't announce his presence properly. He could have sneaked in here. But he was here to understand really how you have organized the mining sector, small-scale miners. And I'm told there are millions of Tanzanians who are involved in the artisanal mining, but providing them with the technical skills, providing them with the financial support, providing them with, more importantly, the off-take market into the processors. And I think that's what we, again, can learn from each other. We have quite a bit of gold, Madam. Before we were told we didn't have gold, all of a sudden there's gold everywhere across our country. So we want to learn from you and organize ourselves properly.
The two presidents also discussed matters of maximizing agricultural productivity in order to satisfy regional and international markets, especially in soybeans. President Samia Hassan indicated why the two countries should work together in revamping the agricultural sectors.
We are producers of soya. We have one market, which is China. We used to import soya from Zambia and then we transport to Zambia. But the Chinese understand that Zambia are producers of soya, so they have a market directly from Zambia. So we should not compete, but we should complement each other. Let's increase productivity, because our friends have made progress. We have better seeds, and we have discussed when it comes to seeds, it's too expensive. It is so exorbitant, and he said we should talk so that we can purchase with a friendly price. So the ministers will meet and talk. But of course, in agriculture, Zambia has better seeds. We purchase seeds from Zambia, but the prices are too high. So I think we'll make an arrangement which will permit us to purchase or even on loan. So the ministers will handle the issue.
The two heads of state also witnessed the signing of 3 memoranda of understanding in defense and cultural arts by the ministers of foreign affairs. The government of Tanzania has embarked on construction of this masterpiece rail project by the Tanzania Rail Corporation. President Hakainde Hichilema, in the company of Minister of Transport and Logistics Frank Tayali, toward the $7.3 billion United States rail project, whose headquarters are here in Dar es Salaam.
It's not that we didn't have financing. We had financing, but there was a lot of conditions attached to it. So the government decided to start. Then later, we have international funding using PCA. I'm very sure you know export credit charges because of the accountant. Yeah, so we have a combination of salary charter, but PCA, almost a big part of the funding is coming from PCA, which is a little bit more reasonable in terms of interest. So you're talking about less than 3%. So that's a combination. It's a combination of equity and debt. Yes.
Equity provided by the government.
Yes, exactly. From the government and from the national finance. But the big part is coming from Dar es Salaam to Morogoro. His Excellency, in terms of cost, the first one costs around 1.2 billion. That's inclusive VAT, taxes. The second lot costs around 1.9 billion. That's inclusive VAT. The third lot is almost the same 1.9 billion, including taxes.
the Zambian government is already making strides to benefit from the part of the $150 billion United States dollars from the European Union under the Infrastructure Fund for Africa in order to replicate such a project in collaboration with its neighboring countries.
I have no doubt that standard gauge, for the purpose of interconnectivity between the countries, is the way to go. His Excellency, Mr. President, is also going beyond just looking at Zambia's needs. He has attended EU meetings, he has addressed the EU Parliament, where through what is known as an EU fund, there is close to $150 billion that the EU is offering Africa through regional projects that we're able to do certain things together, collectively, as opposed to individual countries. His Excellency the President is looking at rail project within the sub-region so that we're able to achieve something similar. If Zambia is able to go standard gauge, we are looking at Botswana equally being able to do the same and beyond to South Africa.
The Tanzanian works are being undertaken by a Turkish contractor who the Zambian government is already in talks with.
The contractor that is doing this has also been to Zambia, but that we are meticulously trying to look at their proposal and how we can come to a table. It is for this reason that after my visit here, I've been to Turkey, where I've met the contractor, and I've expressed sentiments from my president that the president would like us to sit at the discussion table and see how we are able to achieve a win-win situation.
Dar es Salaam, besides being a business center, is among the preferred tourism destinations on the African continent. It is from such an understanding that President Hichilema implored African countries to enhance tourism packaging for them to attract tourists in their various tourism sites, which various individual countries are endowed with.
Tourism is equally important, as you know, because it's one that really, if it's managed properly, it is going to generate a lot more business opportunities, contribution to the economy, jobs, and it's sustainable because it's renewable, it's not a wasting asset, as sometimes mining can be. An area we talked about packaging, yes. Tourist packages that will cover here, in Tanzania, Zanzibar, island there, mainland here, and obviously Zambia. When you pull these, what I may call destinations together, plus our Victoria Falls. Yes. Just to give you an example, just a little example.
The revival of our political relation, which was somehow lost somewhere. And with the political relation, that brings in our people living together, working together. And so we are building our economic power. Yeah, so that's what to be put in record.
President Hichilema's one-day state visit to Tanzania was worthwhile as the bilateral relations were strengthened. The future looks bright as the barriers that have hindered trade between the two countries will soon be addressed. The president then bade farewell at Julius Nyerere International Airport and headed back home.